Appreciate you streaming in. Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. Hey, look at that handsome guy. You can hit the like button right now. You can like Mike Tanier's shirt. What are you wearing today, Tanier? What's that?
Little Rutgers Scarlet Knight action.
Oh, very nice for our Jerseyites, former Rutgers grads. You can go down the Mike Tanier Road. Yes, I've had to add the messenger to my frequently visited websites these days because they've got my guy Scott Miller writing baseball for him and Mike Tanier writing football for him these days. So check out the new news/sports website, themessenger.com. How you liking things over there, Mr. Tanier?
I'm loving it. You're right. We got Scotty Miller. We got a really good baseball department. We got guys like me, Kalen Jones, Mike Renner in the football department. And we're really starting to ramp it up now. You know, in August, it was kind of like, hey, we're new, we're launching. Now we're getting our feet under us and getting a flow, and I'm really enjoying it.
By the way, Mike, I'm glad you pointed out, and I you know, we're obviously Birds 365. We'll get into plenty of Eagles, but if anybody's been following Pittsburgh, the Steelers, and what's going on with Matt Canada, or what somebody did to Matt Canada, however you want to look at it, I did notice the same thing you noticed, and I don't want to get in that muck, but I'm glad you put up there whispers. That's not how NFL team employee email addresses are configured. So, yeah, somebody went to this. I don't know who to blame more, the goofball that's going through the change password function, or the guy making this burner account who doesn't know NFL email addresses. But I'm glad you put that out there. So
it's a weird thing. Someone is sort of like catfishing or trolling Matt Canada by pretending to be a regular fan with a burner account, like complaining when everyone criticizes Matt Canada. And it's this weird multi-leveled social.
It's so weird.
It's
weird.
And
people in Philadelphia know because of Brian Colangelo. Hey, it's happened. So I'm sure that's where it came from.
Right.
Where somebody, but yeah, I'm glad you put that out there. So
Burner accounts aside, I saw a stat this week. You might be able to relate and or give us more information on. I'm saying I don't even remember the exact parameters of the stat. The Steelers haven't gained 400 yards in X amount of games under. There's a reason why this whole burner thing is happening, because the Steeler offense is not good, right, Mike?
No, there's plenty of criticism for the guy as an offensive guy. I have no problem with that. Legitimate criticism. Yeah.
A lot of legitimate criticism if you watch it. Like, watch the Houston Texans game last week. This is the Houston Texans game. And, you know, they're getting stuffed. They're getting sacked. You're not seeing anything that schemes up to get like a George Pickens open, where that seems like that should be like 101 offensive strategies. Get this guy open more, and you don't see a lot of it. And the thing with Matt Canada, the Steelers coordinator, I believe he's been the coordinator 3 years or 4 years. I still don't know what the philosophy is. Like, he had Roethlisberger at the end, and I know Roethlisberger was toast, and it's like, I don't know what you're trying to do with Roethlisberger. Now I don't know what you're trying to do with Pickett. Is it a short passing, deep passing? It's not an option, read option, anything like that. It's just a bunch of plays, and these plays aren't working. This team is struggling despite a very good defense.
Yeah, and there's a lot of coordinators. You could look at Chicago and Luke Getsy. I look at the Jets. Yeah, I look at everybody who's been involved with Aaron Rodgers. Jody knows, because I think they just got out of the way of Aaron Rodgers, and now they're left to their own devices. It's a little bit more difficult. But we'll use that to get back to the Eagles, because Brian Johnson is a first-time play caller in the NFL, at least. Hey, the Eagles are 4-0, but nobody seems to be happy here in Philadelphia, South Jersey, Mike. There's only 2 4-0 teams.
Right.
You can't get Dallas Goedert involved. 1 week it's this, the passing game. Why can't they run the ball against Washington? Have people gotten spoiled in the Delaware Valley?
Yeah, I guess every game has got to be a 31-0 blowout.
Mm-hmm.
And these are not flawless games by any stretch of the imagination, but these are also not 98-pound weakling teams. The Commanders are not a terrible team. The Vikings are not a terrible team. They won 13 games last year. And you are winning these games. Last week was clearly harder than you think it should have been. The Goddard thing mystifies me because, like, yeah, if you're 1-3, then you start saying, why isn't the tight end more involved in this offense? Well, if you're 4-0 and you say, why isn't the tight end? Because A.J. Brown caught 6 million passes last week. Because a couple weeks ago, you ran for 350 yards. The offense is working, and it's working in different ways against different opponents. So, I've seen the Goddard, RPO play where he catches like a 1-yard pass and then he disappears for the rest of the game. It's not like there's been any game where it's like, oh, we better get Goddard involved in this because nothing else is working. Devontae Smith's having a big game. Swift is having a big game. You're fine. Goddard is not some kind of problem there.
All that being said, Mike, what are you seeing with Jalen Hurts? I think we can all agree, even the biggest Jalen Hurts fans, he's not played as well as he did last year. Simply leave it at that. Mm-hmm. Why do you think a drop-off from last year to this year?
I don't think it's that precipitous. I don't think he's getting as many running opportunities. I think when he is running, he does look a little slower than he did last year. That's something I noticed when he takes off. Maybe it was because it was the Commanders and you got guys like Chase Young who are fast as heck on the defensive line chasing him down.
Do you think it's slower or tentative? Because those are two different things.
It could be that, and they go hand in hand. There's no reason to think he had an ankle injury or anything like that he would be slower. So maybe he's a little tentative. You see teams like the Vikings who said, you are not going to be allowed to do this. We're going to, sort of run blitz the edge, take that away. And okay, hand off, 287 rushing yards, whatever it was, win the game there. So I guess the concern was the turnovers against the Buccaneers. That's the thing that I look at and say that is something potentially alarming. These should not be turnovers. They should not be interceptions. Not like I said, I don't see the super precipitative drop off here. I think it's within the margins of what he does regularly. It's just not resulting in these 31-10 blowouts.
Yeah, I think the biggest part, Mike, is if you come into 2022, and it was ironic because they played Minnesota in week 2 both years.
Right.
And they came in the first time with Ed Donatel and the Big Fangio defense, and they just said, all right, we're going to sit back and make Jalen Hurts throw the football to beat us.
Right.
And they came in this year and they said, Jalen Hurts isn't going to beat us.
Right.
Off schedule, running the football. And they have 6-man boxes. And the Eagles took advantage of it both times. I think that's a positive.
Yes.
Why don't people focus more on what's going on? And this is not just Philadelphia, around the NFL. There's an opponent out there, and they're trying to accomplish something. And I think it's only a positive that the Eagles have said, all right, you're going to do that. We're going to do this.
Right. There's an opponent out there who is trying to win. And life existed before the last 10 plays. If there are 2 drives in a row where something has gone wrong, and I'll sit in the Philly Sports Tavern or I'll be on the Twitter and rage has happened. Why aren't we running? Why can't we run the ball? What do you mean? Why can't we run the ball? 2 weeks ago, we ran the ball down an opponent's throat. What I do like about Johnson, and I think this is an extension of Sirianni, I think Steakham did it a little bit as well. If there's something the defense can't do, just going to keep attacking that. The rookie could not cover Brown last week. Brian Flores was like, 6 in the box, 5 deep picket fence defense. We're going to be vulnerable up the middle. A lot of coordinators are like, well, no, I have my game plan. I have all these things I want to get involved in. I have all these toys I want to play with. The Eagles like, screw it. We're going to throw it to Brown until you double cover him or something. We're going to run Swift up the middle until you bring guys up. It's very old-fashioned, but it's a good way of running things, and the Eagles have had success with it this year.
I need your opinion on this one because it was certainly broached yesterday when the coordinator availability was there and the day before when Sirianni talked to the media. When the Eagles scored on the 2-move touchdown with a minute and change to play, was Mike Tanier's first thought, wow, nice play, guys. Way to go. Or, wait, what are you doing? You should just be walking off the field a minute and 32 seconds from now after Elliott kicks the game-winning field goal. What was the first thought that went through your head?
You don't like this assumption that you're going to hand off to kill the clock and get the 47-yard field goal at the buzzer, and that's guaranteed.
I'm pretty close with Jake Elliott.
It's not guaranteed in the NFL. And you play to win and you play to score touchdowns.
Play to win the game.
Play to win the game. And your win probability when you get that touchdown. And you can be sitting there armchair quarterback or running your Madden controller and I can run one more play. You've got an opportunity there to get 7 points. You take it. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to nerf Jalen Hurts. It looked like Jalen Hurts makes that call at the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Oh, he did. He did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's like, oh, I see a one-on-one matchup where we're just going to crush this guy. I'm not going to take it though right now. I'm going to, line up Elliott and, fall down. I don't like it. I don't like snapping the ball extra times. I don't like relying on the kicker. I don't relying on a holder that like just came up. All these other things along the way when you have that chance to take that touchdown. And if that play fails, plan B is to do that. Because where that ball's thrown, okay, you threw it out of bounds, you can still do all this other stuff to win the game. I think we're really micromanaging the, sitting around with our.
What you have to do when I said the same thing, Mike. It's what you have to do when they win every game, and you start nitpicking and doing these things.
Yeah.
Look, I pay lip service to that if Patrick Mahomes is on the other side, and by the way, it turns into a 3-point lead instead of. I always want the 7-point lead.
Yeah,
always. If they're going to take it and put Forbes, as you mentioned, they're putting Forbes, that poor kid, on AJ Brown. I'm going to beat that into a drum. It's man coverage. They get the touchdown. Then the result, because the defense didn't hold up and they allow Sam Howell to get the touchdown on the final play of regulation.
Yeah.
But guess what, Mike? If AJ doesn't get the taunting penalty, that's probably not even in play.
And that taunting penalty is nonsense. I'm sorry. What he does there is nothing. And that's another handing them sort of 15 yards on that. And you have the play before the touchdown by Commanders where if the kid catches the ball, the game's over.
Yes.
Where it kind of skitters away. Yeah. And I know it was another, like, the 3rd down, 4th down where they get it by the skin of their teeth and it looked really, really like almost like how in the world is this happening? All of these improbable things happen against the Eagles. By the way, I lost track. If on that Brown touchdown, if you just basically say no gain, run the clock, kick the field goal, where are that? 52 yards, 53 yards? I don't remember where that was.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up.
I think it was long 40s.
Yeah, 40.
Oh, it was long 40s.
I think it was less than 50. I think
okay.
it was 23-yard touchdown, I want to say.
Jake's probably making it. He's red hot, but as you point, you could have bad snap, bad hold, little off. You never know on a particular play. Nothing's a given. If I can score 7 points, I'm trying to score 7 points.
All right, but let me put Mike Tanier to the test again, since he's 0 for 1 on second guessing here. Will you second guess Riverboat Ron Rivera when he scores the touchdown with no time left in the game and decides, we'll kick the extra point to go to overtime in Philly's house, rather than saying, let's go for 2 and decide this game here?
I feel like they should have gone for 2.
All right. Yeah.
I really think,
I got that one right.
Somebody, it's Ron Rivera.
I think Mike's 2 for 2. You think
one
he's
play with a 230-pound running back that you got in Robinson, with a scrambling quarterback who could run some kind of option nonsense with McLaurin, versus, we're going to try and do sequential offense with this kid who's had like 5 career starts and has gotten sacked a bunch of times. Run one play to win the game.
Yeah. By the way, the Eagles were at the 28. I'm just looking it up. So
that's 45. Yeah,
45.
That's really makeable.
That's money in the bank for.
But you can make that if Brown is incomplete. If it bounces out of bounds, whatever, you can make that.
Yeah. You're 2 for 2 as far as I'm concerned, Mike. I question Ron. Yeah, I mean, that's you're a significant underdog on the road.
Yeah.
All the momentum is right there.
Yeah.
You try to steal the game.
Yeah.
And to the point where I have stripped him of that nickname. Nobody can call him Riverboat Ron anymore. If you're going to lay up on that, you got to tin cup that thing. You got to be Kevin Costner. You got to go for it. It's absurd.
He hasn't been Riverboat Ron for like 7 or 8 years. That was really when he had Cam in Cam's full prime. And it was kind of like the Eagles out 4th and 1. We got Cam's just
well, and plus Brandon Staley came along and now everybody goes for it. So now he looks like old school conventional Ron Rivera. If that's a nickname. Well, let's go to the defense. Sean Desai. I've been impressed by a couple things with Sean Desai. One, I think he's willing to try different things a little bit more than maybe Jonathan Gannon. But they have been effective stopping the pass for the most part. Now, part of that is built in. Teams are playing from behind, so they're throwing it more.
Yeah.
But as we mentioned, Sam Howell, I thought played pretty well, but you got to be able to hold up in that type of situation. They got the big lead against Minnesota. All of a sudden, Cousins throwing the football all over the lot. They've given up a lot of passing touchdowns, a lot of passing yards. Any concern about this team's pass defense?
The health in the secondary and the youth behind the health in the secondary are problems. I think you guys were talking about that before.
Yeah.
You don't have, with Maddox out, you don't have a number 3 cornerback plan, more or less, because you're not, the trust in Ringo isn't there. And so you got this other kid out there and you have to kind of like hide him. You're not getting a lot of pressure of the front 4. Not getting the pressure that when you look at the front 4 on paper, you just say, well, this team never has to blitz. This team is never going to have to blitz. And they had to bring a 5th guy. Once they brought a 5th guy, everything changed against the Commanders. It was nonstop pressure, whether it was Morrow or somebody else. But time and time again, against okay but not great offensive lines, it's like guys aren't getting home. Nolan Smith hasn't been much of a factor. Reddick, get the injury or whatever, hasn't been much of a factor. The interior guys get some push. That's great. I looked at this front 4 on paper, like no one's ever going to block these guys. It's going to be devastation. And it's not quite there.
No, it hasn't been. And oh, by the way, in a couple of Morrow sacks, he was the 6th guy, because the Eagles oftentimes line up with 5 defensive linemen to begin with. Call the edge guy what you want to call the edge guy, but he's playing. He's coming forward immediately on the snap. That's part of the rush, as far as I'm concerned. So I'll give Desai credit, because he has dialed up a couple more blitzes. I know they like him more here in Philadelphia than the previous defensive coordinator, just because of that. He does bring some extra pressure. And oh, by the way, Nicholas Morrow getting the love from PFF. Johnny told me yesterday, 2nd-ranked linebacker so far through 4 games in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Nick Morrow. Off the Eagle
baby.
practice.
By the way, Mike will appreciate this. Roquan Smith is number 1. So the Bears spent $100 million on football line.
Right. Now, PFF, God bless him. Nick Morrow made like 1,000 plays last year, and PFF hated him behind a bad defensive line.
Yes.
And now he's making
magically good. Yeah.
Maybe you might be measuring the defensive line in front of the guy a lot with these situations.
Not maybe. But I'll tell you, because I've gotten a lot of criticism, because I think TJ Edwards is a good player. And I thought the Eagles made a mistake. At what he cost, I thought they could have brought him back.
Yeah.
And TJ had a very good PFF ranking last year, playing behind a great defense. But guess what? He's still 22nd behind the worst defensive front in football. So that to me tells me he's a good player.
Yeah. The Bears linebackers are running around in circles trying to put out fires every single week when you watch them, and nobody else is getting the job done. Him and Edwards are playing really well. Yeah.
But to Nick's point, he has played well. You have to give him credit. You're right. Those 3 sacks he's played. I think I looked it up, Mike. He's played 3,600 career snaps in the NFL. He had 4 career sacks. He has 3 in 1 game playing behind that defensive front. But I will say this, and Seth Joyner's the one who brought it up to me, and I dismissed it immediately. So I want to see if you dismiss it.
Okay.
Seth started asking me, hey, is Nick Morrow better than Nakobe Dean? When Nakobe Dean's healthy, do you stick with Nick Morrow? I completely dismissed it. I said, no way, no shot in heck. If he keeps playing at this level, I think we all look at Nakobe Dean, and I'm guilty of it, and I'm thinking about Athens. I'm thinking about Georgia.
Yeah.
Hasn't done it at the NFL level yet. Where are you? If Nick Morrow keeps playing like this, can you take him off the field?
Dean has better upside. Okay. But we haven't seen a lot, like you said, of that. Morrow is kind of like an NFL professional at linebacker who has proven like he's going to mind his assignments. Yeah. When he's going to be sort of the unblocked or blocked by the running back guy coming on the blitz, he's going to get home. I mean, my first thought would be that you can package Dean in some way and Morrow could be the start, or you can package Morrow as a blitz specialist, which is out of character for him career-wise, admittedly, but you can do things like that in the short term. So I don't really think of it as an either-or right now. I think there's ways you can get both of these linebackers on the field in different situations.
I'm glad you think of it the same way I do, because we touched on this yesterday. The Eagles don't rotate linebackers.
No,
Last year, they had 2 very good linebackers, and they basically played every snap. Nakobe Dean, a guy who you took in the 3rd round, you thought you'd like to develop, give him a little chance to play. 32 snaps all year long. So they put Edwards and Kaiser White out there and just left them out there. They didn't rotate at all. You're talking about a potential rotation of the 3 linebackers this year. That's what I'd like to see. They rotate guys in and out of that defensive line basically on every single snap. Why couldn't you do that a little bit at linebacker?
It has to be more package oriented because I don't think you just rotate the guys. Like on the defensive line, sometimes you're just rotating guys. Okay, you're fresh legs, get out there. I always thought of Dean as like a gap shooter type of guy. You know, play perpendicular line of scrimmage, shoot the gaps there. So that would be like your blitz guy, or maybe he's your run down guy where it's like, oh, it's 3rd and 1. You're going to come in and you're just going to, attack the B gap, try to blow things up. And he could play that kind of role. I would think if it's nickel and you want guys in coverage, maybe that's where you want Morrow. And then once in a while, he surprises you with a blitz.
Here's the problem. Eagles have 3 linebackers. None of them are great in coverage.
They've never, I can't remember.
That's probably the weakest part of all 3 of their games.
Right.
Well, Zach Cunningham is kind of savvy. I think he's the best. At least he's long and he knows how to play. But he's got, he's not the best athlete in the world at this stage of his career. But he knows where to be, and he's got such a long frame for a linebacker. Sometimes he gets in the way. So he's the best, I would say, of the group.
Not a lot of coverage linebackers in the NFL anyway. No. There's Fred Warner and there's Levante David entering his 37th season, and you can name a couple of others. But that's why teams are putting safeties. Let's put a bigger safety out there, and that's who covers McCaffrey or whoever.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Speaking of McCaffrey, big game of the week, biggest game of the week, Cowboys 49ers, and McCaffrey has had an unbelievable start to his season. So is their quarterback, that Purdy guy, who some people just refuse to give any credit to, and he's a legit MVP candidate. Undefeated in all of his starts that he both started and finished so far in his NFL career.
I'm taking the field on that MVP vote over Brock Purdy. I'm taking the field.
Take the field, yeah. Anyway, where were we?
Where were we was, who you liked that this week, 49ers, Cowboys?
I like the 49ers. They top to bottom. They are the best team in the NFC right now. Yes,
ooh, you're gonna excite the 49ers trolls on the stream.
Yeah. I mean, they are. And like you were talking about how unhappy Eagles fans are with their 4-0 start. The 49ers have nothing to be unhappy with. All they can do is be like, how dare you not call Brock Purdy the MVP? That's all they've got right now. So I think they're stronger overall. We just saw a common opponent, the Cardinals, in which the Cowboys tripped badly over. And the 49ers have to work on a little bit because the Cardinals are better than people thought. But then they take control of that game. And I think from an Eagles fan standpoint, you would probably, first of all, you don't want to root for the Cowboys because you're an Eagles fan. And secondly, it'd be better to put the Cowboys behind the 8 ball for the division and everything else, have them lose, then say, oh, let's expose some flaw in the 49ers. Because I don't think that gets the Eagles anywhere. Like you would rather say at this point, oh yeah, the 49ers are 5-0 and that's the team to beat, than have a Cowboys team that's coming off of that as you move forward and say, oh, they've demonstrated what they can do, and now they're starting to accumulate tiebreakers for the playoffs.
It's interesting because this week the Eagles are out in Los Angeles to face the Rams and Sean McVay. Mm-hmm. I like to call this the motion part of their schedule. They're going to get Miami in a couple of weeks with Mike McDaniel. They move people all around. Yeah. Exactly. Where are you on the scale of Mike McDaniel reinventing offense, scoring 70 points, then getting beat by 4 touchdowns? How badly did people overreach that? Or is Mike just better scheming than everybody but maybe Kyle Shanahan and who we learned from?
Yeah, a good schemer, and he's out there. The overreaction was bizarre, and like the tape guys on the social networks. Yeah. And like, look at this design, and and here's Tua, and he's faking here, and then he's doing a reverse pitch, and a guard's running out here, and the guy gains 35 yards, and it's a beautiful design. It looks like a Picasso painting. And then I will look at it and say, look at the defense. Look at the Broncos defense. There are 4 down linemen. The 3 linebackers are playing out where safeties would play. and the safeties are playing out where concession stand people. It's like, this is a 4-man box. They could have run off tackle for 25 yards probably, as the Eagles might have done, or they could have done this intricate, amazing 16 fake play and gotten 2 more yards than that anyway. So I'm not criticizing McDaniel here, but it's like, like, this is a game where they couldn't cover your receivers at all, and they were down by 30 points, and you were just handing it to them. This whole, reinventing and revolutionizing. It's easy to be an offensive coordinator when everybody's awesome.
Yeah.
It was easy for Joe Brady at LSU to look like a genius when Joe Burrow was throwing the Justin
That's
Jefferson
true.
and
Joe
Jamar
Brady
Chase against Mississippi State and against the NFL. And it's like, that don't work for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
That don't work for the Carolina Panthers. So the thing I'm worried about the Dolphins, because I'm worried about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and got 2 good corners, but like one of them's in the slot, like you were saying, and then they can find the third guy. I'm not worried about, oh my God, this motion is going to make it so hard for them to stop. They're hard
now, but I bring that up, Mike, because the Eagles don't use motion. It's the one thing.
Right.
And Nick Sirianni is. He says this all the time. You never want to be bottom 5 in anything in the NFL. Right. Well, they're bottom 5 in motion. They don't motion.
Neither did like the old Mike Shanahan Broncos teams, whether it was Elway or somebody is by design, because they are lining up and Jalen's looking at it and saying, "Oh, rookie nonsense guys on AJ Brown. I don't want to move guys around. I like
that description, by the way.
Yeah,
rookie nonsense.
Rookie nonsense. He's a good rookie, but rookie is on AJ Brown. I don't want to move guys around or anything or very limited motion, like moving the back one side to another for a blitzer. Oh, you know what? The box is 5 men. I'm in shotgun. I got Swift next to me. They got a 5-man box because they're afraid of Brown and Swift. Just going to run the ball, call an audible off of that. So it's a different philosophy than saying, okay, we're going to confuse them by this guy going here, this guy going here, and we're going to get Dalton Schultz lined up on a linebacker because Tyreek Hill's going this way. It's a different mentality.
Coming up this week against the Rams for the Eagles, one of the things that has impressed me most about Brian Johnson, and I know it's a cumulative decision. They put the package together all week. It's Nick Sirianni's offense, but it's Johnson who's making the calls in the moment during the game. Yeah, when they needed to run the football, they ran the football. If the other team said, we're going to take this way, but we're leaving this gaping hole. All right, we'll take the gaping hole. And they run for as many yards as they do. What do you think the Rams will try and do against the Eagles this week? If they're going to make a predetermined decision, we're not going to allow the Eagles to do this, but we realize we're leaving ourselves open over here. How do you think the Rams defense leans against Eagles offense come Sunday?
I think they're going to protect their secondary because their cornerbacks are not particularly good. You have Darian Kendrick on one side, who's a decent corner, played at Georgia. I'm surprised we didn't snap him up, but he's a slower guy. And I'm blanking on the other guy's name. I think it's Colby Durant, who is like blazingly fast but small and kind of mistake prone. They're going to try and protect those guys. So you think you're going to see shells. And they're going to be moving Donald all over Lord's creation. I was watching this against the Colts, and Donald is out on edge and doing all these other things here because they don't have a lot of real pass rushers, and they're going to try to dictate on that side. And it's not a really good defense. It's a defense that looked good against the Colts, who are like the AAA affiliate of the Eagles last week, and will surprise you. And of course, if you can't block Donald and you lose track of him, he's going to disrupt stuff. But I think that's how the Rams are going to approach it.
At Mike Tanier, make sure you follow Mike on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days, themessenger.com. So I'll leave it here with you. You made a little bit of a reaction to it, watching the Eagles in a bar. Let's give us the full take on that. How was that?
Oh, I would have been doing shots at the end of that. See, I can sip a beer early in the games, but like I got to write 4,000 words on Sunday night. But and the folks at PJs, I won't say which PJs, but
I know which PJs.
You know which PJs.
That's a great PJs.
Right. Are losing. Everyone's losing their minds, and I'm trying to be clinical and tactical. And it's like, I got to write about the Dolphins game. They're like, part of me, line them up, shots, gummies, anything, because like that game was headache fuel.
All right, last one for me. And we started off talking about the Steelers and the mess that is their offense and trolling that's going on there with their offensive coordinator. I know you like a good drama when you get your hands on it. This Cleveland thing, I did not know this. They didn't report it on game day on any of the national pregame shows or whatever. that Deshaun Watson counted himself out of the Cleveland game, that he was medically cleared to play, and he decided his body just wasn't up to it. It's become a bigger deal after the fact. Now they're on a bye week this week, so the story will die down. Will it pump itself back up? I think that's the kind of thing that can just derail a season. When people start questioning the desire to win of your quarterback, that can take a season completely off the rails. Will this be something that's gotten over easily, or be a story that we'll be talking about all year with the Browns?
I try not to think about Deshaun Watson's body. But like you talk about a guy who, there are questions about this individual. And like one of the things that they tried to do is, well, the off the field things were one thing, but he is a professional on the field. And you hear that all the time. And it's like, are we sure? Because he didn't look like he came back in 2022 in like absolute vim and vigor, ready to be the regular Deshaun Watson. He came back there looking a little slow, a little flabby. Maybe he was tentative, and that makes sense. But, you had a year off. Were you just riding the stationary bike watching TV? Or were you like getting into NFL shape along the way? So this is worth monitoring. It's also worth monitoring that, like, I think we had 3 Deshaun games, and one of them was good. And like one of them was horrible against the Steelers. One of them was a mess where he was also committing penalties and, not necessarily being super consummate professional. And then one was kind of okay. So if you've got a guy who you're starting to question, and he's only playing at like top 15 or 16 in the league in his best day, where does that leave the Cleveland Browns, who are guaranteeing this guy for the next 4 years?
Yeah. A lot of people dodged a bullet there, Mike, including a certain team in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Even though people
check them out on themessenger.com. Our buddy Mike Tanier jumps in with us about once a month, and whenever he does, we have fun talking to him. And hopefully you enjoyed Mike's appearance today. Mike, good stuff, buddy. We'll get you back next month. Thanks, pal.
Thanks, Mike.
Themessenger.com for Mike Tanier here on Birds 365. All right, quickie timeout. John McMullen, I'm Jody McDonald. We're going Mike and Mike on you today. Tanier just arrived. He's departed. Mike Gill yet to arrive. We'll run him out at the end of the show too, but not until we find out what kind of T-shirt he's got on. Keep it right here. We got Mac and Mac on Birds 365.